Welcome to the DMF. I am your host, Justin Yance, and today is part 2 of my interview with Ryan Perez of the Mind Devs or devnations.com. You can also find him on his own podcast at the Mind Devs Podcast, Dev Nations. So enjoy. Taking it back to you now. You have 4 Instagrams. You
Yeah.
have 4 YouTubes. You do TikTok. You have a
Yes.
website. You
Yes.
do a podcast.
Uh-huh.
How are you managing all these things? This is amazing. Do you have a team?
Ha. No, I don't. I just laugh
Wow.
because thank you. I mean, I tried getting a team going for a little bit. I will say
Yeah.
for a few months. But just didn't work out, so for the most part it has been me.
Do you think that's because it's hard to have people that share the same vision and see it as important as you do? Do you think that's part of the problem with getting the team together to do it? I'm just curious.
I think that'll be a skill set I'll have to work on for sure. Like no one's gonna be as invested as I am in Dev Nation
Yeah.
for the most part, right? Because well, I'm the founder, right? Like no one's gonna care about the things you found as much as you do. So love it with all your
Yeah.
heart, right? But so I think that's definitely gonna be a skill set I have to just kind of remind myself and sort of work on, right? That EQ of like, hey, if I hire Justin, he's not gonna love it as much as
Yeah.
I do because I founded it.
Yeah.
But back to
Or do you
managing.
think it's better to maybe develop the skill set of seeing it in them before they actually seeing that, spark that will translate into that?
I think it's good to get people that are positive, right? Like
Well,
that are
yeah,
gonna
absolutely.
love what it is that they're doing. But I just really don't think. I mean, it depends, right? Like maybe even on size or whatever over time, right? Like
Yeah.
we were talking about Gary Vaynerchuk. There are people who love Gary Vaynerchuk and would love to work at VaynerMedia, right? But right now, when you're in the dirt, when you're dirt shoveling, it's like no one wants to shovel dirt, or at least most people don't. So,
That's why you
and
sell
I
the shovels to the people doing the dirt.
exactly, yeah. And so like to me, it's like I'll shovel dirt all day if it means like
Yeah.
making progress in all these different channels because that's what I love to do, and I accept that. Um, but I think just the whole team thing is more of the capital. Like I don't have the
Yeah.
financial capital to be like, hey, I'm gonna hire you. And then it's even
Yeah.
tougher so it's already tough to find people for a team that you're gonna pay
Yeah.
them for the job, let alone it's even tougher to find people who are like, hey, we want to join my team. You're gonna be doing it for free, but you're gonna get all this
Yeah.
experience of creative work. It's a little tougher to sell. And I'm okay with that
Yeah.
for now. Like I know over time, I'm sure I'll have, I'll be taking people on my team,
Yeah.
as it grows. But yeah, so that answers that. And then
Yeah.
productivity. Uh, well, one, get rid of the whole perfectionist mindset, right? And that judgment mindset, that fear of judgment, as we spoke about, because the best way to go ahead and produce content, maximize your content strategies, is to rid yourself of that fear of judgment from other people, and then that perfectionist mindset of judging even yourself. Right, so much time is spent, looking at a post and is this the right? Just if it resonates with you and you think it's bringing value to community, just put it up, just go. You know,
Yeah.
so I think that's one thing, because I definitely struggle with that. I would take an entire weekend just to edit one video when I first started because I was so like, I said,
Yeah.
and now that's going to ruin the video. It's like,
Like,
how
yeah,
many
this
people
is no
watch
way
that
to.
video, and then how many people watch that video. It's like don't
Yeah.
spend so much time trying to make it perfect.
Compound interest as well with the videos, those
Yeah,
that, the little video they started with, maybe the big one really
exactly.
catches on, but then they
Hmm.
launch your other videos.
Hmm.
Compound
Exactly.
interest again.
And the content you make can be micro content as well. I think that's another good strategy people should use for content creation. Like your
Yeah.
interviews. If you're a podcast host and you're not clipping up your interviews, what are you doing? It's like,
Yeah.
and I will say
Yeah.
I haven't done it as much as I even want to, but it's
Yeah.
also
I need to
because
do that.
I have other priorities like school, right? So it's like, okay, fine. So, like I'm
Yeah.
trying to say that because I'm empathetic. Like I get that people have other priorities, but if you're doing this full time, you should
Yeah.
be, and it's your own, like
Yeah.
your main priority, then you should be clipping up content and trying to reuse as much content as you can. That'll help save some time. Um, and then, yeah, I think if you have that, you can really maximize your content creation productivity just by
Yeah.
removing that judgment from other people and on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I think those are great things. One thing I noticed, so did you start with Instagram Live or the podcast? How did it choose? I noticed you have the Instagram Live, and you have the Friday and then you have the Sunday thing. How did that, which
Oh
started
yeah.
first?
Okay. Let's see. I think I started the podcast first
Hmm.
because, well, one, I'm just a curious person, as we've discovered. I'm a very curious
Really?
person, like, and so I realized, wait, a podcast gives me an excuse to just reach out to people and ask them questions. That's like, I think the only reason I want to start a podcast. Just it gave me a reason to be like,
Form of
hey, so and
networking.
so, hey, Jordan B. Peterson, will you come on my podcast? And it's like, that's enough of a reason
Yeah.
nowadays. Like if the podcast grows enough to where like he'll say, you know what? Yeah, okay. What? Like that's amazing. And I think that's
Yeah.
one of the main reasons why I wanted to start the podcast. Just
Well, I
ask
love that you
questions and
got Evan. You got Evan on there in your first
yeah,
episode. I mean,
yeah,
I love his books. I just like
yeah.
the book he did where he had the list of all the famous people through there. I mean, you can now get
Okay,
it on Kindle Unlimited, but
nice.
at the time I bought it,
Yeah.
it's in New York, but it's I love little lists like that, and I like that he cultivated it.
Hmm.
All in there. And I thought that was such a cool guest that you got him. And I
Yeah. Well,
saw what you
thank
were
you.
saying. You were saying that you were kind of nervous about just
Yeah, I'll
reaching
never
out to him,
forget that
but you
first
had
one.
to push
I'll
out and
never
do it.
forget that first interview because I mean I sort of consider myself a bit of an introvert when it comes to people. Like I've
Yeah,
always been like curious and like kind of creative and weird to some degree, like just always asking questions, right? Not afraid to ask questions. But then when it came to socializing, I felt like that was always a weakness of
yeah.
mine. And so, it's been a fun journey since speaking with Evan,
Well, it's
and then
hard to reach out because you're just like
yeah,
for
I don't
me
know
when
how to
I
phrase it.
started. Yeah, for me when I first started, I was like, I don't know. I just started. I was like, and Lee, I was so happy that the first person I reached out to said yes, because then like the next two were no's. But I had that one yes to be
Yeah.
happy. It was like that no could have because the first no, and I'll tell you who it is after. So you won't believe who told me no. And I was just like crushed. There was like a moment there. I was just like, what am I doing? I was just like, nope, gonna keep going. You're gonna keep
Mm.
going, even though you wanted that person. And they just said, flat out no. And then after a while, you just kind of get used to, some people are gonna say yes, some people are gonna say no, but you gotta try.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
exactly.
sorry, I interrupted you there.
Oh
Finish
no,
your
it's fine, it's
point. It
fine.
was great.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so I started off with the podcast again because I just want to ask people questions, and it gave me enough reason to just reach out and ask. And if they say no, fine. I can ask more people. I can ask more people, and hopefully, I can ask them questions and whatever. Then from there, actually, I don't know when I started the Instagram lives. So this is on my Dev Nations Book Devs page. I wanted a way to go ahead and be a further accessible service to the community, and I felt like doing lives would be a good way to be of
Mm,
optimal service in my head at least, because people can just ask me questions or get a new perspective on anything they're struggling with, whether it's reading or life. Like I like to say that in my lives, it's like I don't just do uh lives just to talk about books. Like if you want to talk about something you're struggling with, I'm all ears. I'm more than happy to try my best and help. I'll tell you I don't know.
mm,
That's a tough
yeah.
situation, but I'll try. I'll always try my best. But I really wanted to do it, and so I was just like, well, I just got to do it. So I went and I decided doing lives, and I've done a live every day, every week since. I think I missed one or two, but I've been doing it over the last year now. It's gonna be a
Mm,
year, I think, in like the next month. So that's what started with me for the lives, and And then from there, I just thought about, what would be cool though? Like if I did a more book focused live where I talk about other people's favorite books, because my favorite books might stay the same. They might change, but people are going to get tired of me talking at some point, right? So I
Yeah.
figure, well, let me go ahead and get other people in the community and listen to their top 3 favorite books and get to sort of pick their brain too. And I realized, oh wait, I can also ask them questions while they're here. So that's why I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start doing these lives a bit more, and then also sharing on the podcast because I can both pick their brain about their favorite books. It's great for the community because community of readers, they want to know people's favorite books, like which one will help me or bring the most impact to me. Well, the ones that impacted other people the most, right? And then I can ask people questions as well. So I think it started off with the podcast first, then the IG lives on the Dev Nation's Book Devs account.
Cool. Now, Instagram was first, right? Or was it YouTube first? What was like the first one that you really
social media platform I got into? YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
And then did Instagram, like, would you say that kind of came during the social, during the pandemic?
I think it's just once I started getting a handle on like, okay, like I'm putting up videos. What's the next platform I want to go on? Like it was just like I don't think it had anything to do with the
now. Do you schedule like, okay, I'm going to spend this amount of time on this platform, this amount of time on this platform, since you're doing everything yourself?
Yeah, good question. Do I schedule everything when it comes to like just my creative work?
Or do you do it ahead of time so much that you're not like running up to a deadline?
Yes and yes. So I think I'm still I'm still ebbing and flowing with my own productivity, like in terms of productivity for creative process. Like I've tried using calendars, but I'm not like I know one of the first things I'm going to do once I can hire a team is hire some sort of an assistant, because I think what's good for me on my creative side of being this creative chaotic sort of this creative chaos, it also has a downfall of I'm not the most organized person, so like I'll use calendars, and even when I use calendars, I won't stick with them sometimes, or I'll like double book things or things like that. So, I totally didn't realize I had 3 other things in this 1 hour.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely guilty of that. So I think the first thing I'm gonna do when I can hire a team is get an assistant. But I'm still playing. I'm still playing.
Planoly is a good one. I use that for Instagram.
Planly? Okay.
That's not bad.
I'll check that out.
But you gotta like plan it all out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll check it out. But I think I'm still playing around with like what works for me, like Ryan personally. I've tried calendars. I'm good for like a week or two, and then it's like, but then if I do like big item things for the day, I found that works better instead of being super granular on my calendar. So like instead of being like, oh, I'm going to work on this video, then video 2, then video 3, I just block it out all for YouTube videos. I found that works a little better. It allows me to be a little more creative.
For me, like because I'm an actor, so like I got like this script. I got this script on like Friday, and I'm like, okay, I got to read it over and over again. Then I got to work on the lines, and you got to make sure that the lines come out, perfect. So it's it's a lot of so it's like I know what you mean. It's hard. Like if you're not doing this full time, you're trying to put all these things. It's very important to like just. I feel the thing that helps the most is to be ahead of the game as much as possible. Sometimes it's hard, like with this, sometimes you get interviews and then sometimes, nobody responds. Then sometimes you get a million people respond all at once and you're like, whoa, what do wait a minute, I gotta, put it in there.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I know what you mean.
Yeah. If you can, try to like, if you're in a flow already and you've knocked out 3, 4, 5 YouTube videos or IG posts, whatever you got, then do more, right? Like get ahead of the curve if you can. But I think the biggest thing that's helped me in terms of productivity is prioritization. What is your priority for the day? What is your intention for the day? And a lot of my days were school, right? And then some creative work, but I felt like I didn't have enough time to do a lot of the creative work I wanted to do. So, but just being able to prioritize what you want to do for that day, I think will help.
Have you read the book, The One Thing? By Gary Keller?
Nope, I've got it right up there.
You got it right there? Yeah, that's somebody I want to interview. He's he's got it. He says, take that one thing that you got to get done in the day and make that the primary focus, and then everything else
Yeah.
before, as opposed to, because sometimes he's right. You can get to that checklist thing of like, oh, I did, 20 things. Yeah, but your 20
Were they
things where
impactful? Yeah. Or were
I
they the
brushed,
highest priority?
I
You
brushed
know?
my teeth. I made my bed. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, that's great for starting thing, but it's like,
hmm
it's not gonna go, oh, great, you made your bed, but it's
And
like,
it
what else?
depends though. I mean, it depends. Like maybe you and I don't want to make our beds. That's fine. But maybe there's
Yeah.
someone else who's struggling with making their bed, and
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
them, they just want to implement making their bed part of their routine.
That's a
Then it's
that's a
like, well,
good
okay.
point.
So I think
A
it
good point.
depends
Yeah, it could
on you,
work.
like the individual. You know?
But yeah, you're right. There are so many people. What I'm trying to say is though, like, don't just like make a bunch of easy tasks and be like, oh, I accomplished all these easy tasks, and then it's like you did a lot of work, yeah, but you didn't do anything impactful. You just
If that's what you
did
want to
busy
do.
work.
If that's what you want to do.
That's right.
Right?
If you want to do that.
Yeah. Well,
I
just
don't
because
know how you grow
like
from
some
that.
people, well, because some people they find value in, you know what? I made my bed, I did the dishes, and I cooked today.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's
Yeah, I
better
guess you're
than
right.
laying in bed and doing nothing, right?
You're right.
So it depends where you are
If
in
we
life
look at it
too,
from there.
right? And it also depends.
From me
Some
and
people
you,
don't
though,
want
I
to,
don't know if that.
like some people don't want to impact the world, right? Some people are okay with impacting themselves and their closest family members. All right, like we each have our
That's
own
that's a
own
that's a
metric of
great way to look
impact,
at it. You're
you know?
right. You're right. And that goes to another point I want to make is it's like try to not have so much a stated opinion. If your opinion is open, then you'll be
Mhm.
open to different sides and different things. If you just be like, well, this is the way I think, and this is the only way, it's like, well,
Yeah.
that's great, but
Uh-huh.
you won't be open to
Exactly.
the other
Yeah,
side. I
open-mindedness is
see that
definitely
I see that in politics all the time. People just hear
uh,
D or they hear an R and they go, they just block off. This isn't a
yeah.
political, that I don't want to get into politics
Yeah.
because that just blocks people off here. But I do think when people hear D or R or Democrat or Republican, they just
hmm
kind of slow it down. It's like, oh, I don't want to hear anymore. And it's like, but wait a
Yeah.
minute, you
I think
might
that's
learn
tough.
something.
That's such a
Yeah,
tough way to have a conversation. Like I'm
yeah,
like I think if we all had a little more empathy, especially even in politics or things we disagree on, I think that's when we need more empathy, because then
yeah,
at least we can understand the other person. Like Justin might believe in one thing, Ryan might believe in another thing, might be
yeah,
completely different. But if I try to understand, well, why does Justin believe this? Well, okay, at least I
exactly.
can understand a little more, maybe not fully, but at least
Yeah.
a little more of where Justin's coming from and why he thinks that way, you know?
On Abdi of the 2 Minute Readers
Yes.
says perspective. That's he says he doesn't like the word empathy. He says perspective. And he says that's kind of what we need to learn is a different perspective. And I kind of like that. Although I do think we need more empathy,
hmm
but perspective, if you can see a different side and maybe you don't understand it so much, but you can at least see it, that's
hmm
the beginning, I think, of empathy for somebody else.
Really? I was here thinking like, oh, I think if you have some empathy, it'll allow you to build that perspective. Huh.
That could,
You're
yeah,
saying it's
vice
the other
versa.
way.
That could work. That
Oh,
could
maybe it
work
could be
as
both
well.
ways. Yeah. No, I think you're right both
I
ways.
think it works by both ways. But the thing is, I think we need to have more of that in there
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
stop being
Empathy
like
and
this.
perspective.
Yeah.
I like
This
that.
kind of this group mentality type of thing. Yeah, right. That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so switch it back. Now let's get a little bit into the books here. You're an avid reader. Were you always an avid reader?
I would say so. Like the more I think about it, like, but again, that came from my curiosity. Like I started
Yeah.
off with, what's in the garage? And I walked into the garage and I just kind of flipping through and being curious about what was in these boxes. And I came across Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, or the Philosopher's
Yeah.
Stone for some people.
Yeah.
And from there, like I just started reading. I was, oh, this is a cool story. I was like, whoa. And I just kind of grew from there. Then I read like Magic Treehouse books. Those were like in
Yeah.
elementary school. And then from there, I read more Harry Potter books. Then I got to high school and I just kind of stopped reading because it was like assigned work, and I felt like it kind of killed the whole point of reading for me.
See, that's my fear with school is
mm,
it killing reading before it even develops because it's being assigned in so much of a way. I don't know. I mean, I don't think you can't not assign it, but I think if you didn't, maybe I don't know. That's a catch
Yeah.
22. I don't.
It really is. It really, like, I try to think about the perspective of like teachers and educators, because I think education is
Yeah,
important. Don't get me wrong. I really think it's definitely needed in the world. We have to learn, right? Like, or I mean,
absolutely.
we cannot learn, but then like, do we really want to be people who do not learn? Like, we want to stay
No.
our 20-year-old selves or our 5-year-old selves? Like, it's like,
I
you
feel
know,
like that's kind of where we've gone. Like after high school and after college, people just stop learning. A, a,
think
a,
so?
major, a majority of, I think some people do.
Hmm.
Just like, I don't want to ever see a book again because I did so much
But
work in college.
but then you could also argue like, well, a lot of more people are using YouTube and Instagram to also learn things and
Good
connect with
point.
people.
And
So it's
audio,
like, yeah,
audio.
exactly. And
Yes,
audio,
you're
yeah, all
right.
these different
Are they
resources.
learning? That's a good point.
So it's like,
Is
I
maybe
think,
the learning has changed.
yeah, I think that's the thing.
That's a
Like,
good
we're adding
point.
too much stigma about like, oh, education and only universities. Like,
Yeah,
well, there's so many options. We
yeah.
have the internet. We have
Learning can come
that
from
audio.
anywhere.
Exactly. It can come from, you know, uh, travel. Like that was something my family really put a lot of like my mom put a lot of emphasis on traveling because her view was if you travel, you build that perspective
Yes,
and empathy of other cultures and other
absolutely.
worlds, and while you are traveling, you learn how to read a map, you learn how to communicate with people, you learn all these soft skills that aren't necessarily taught in school. Because how do you teach, how do you
Travel is,
teach
yeah, one of the best. That is one of the best
so
things. That's why.
everybody has different ways of learning, and I think we need to destigmatize like only university. I think it's more of like, and right, like, what do you want to do? Like I've done
When,
university, I enjoyed it, but it's not like
yeah,
university was my favorite. Like, I was like, I'll do university because I'll
no.
get to like socialize with other computer science students and maybe meet professors, but it's not my favorite.
Well, I feel like sometimes university becomes, it's like I got to get this, special thing here so that I could say, oh, I did this
Yeah.
and that. It becomes more of an ego trip as opposed to the information. Because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, that's what you should be searching for at college is the information. And then, as you said, yeah, the social structure.
Yeah.
Those are the two things, not a piece of paper that says I'm smarter than you.
Fair enough. It's all
Which,
about intention,
something
right? Intention
exactly
matters.
attention.
So,
Um, so how long do you like to read? I'm curious.
um, how long do I like to read? As long as my current attention wants to read. I don't know. I know that's a cop out. Let me think.
Yeah.
I mean, I try to aim for about an hour a day,
Oh, that's good.
um, but I try to be just kind of attentive of like, if I notice I'm not
Paying
flowing with the
attention
book,
anymore.
yeah, like if I catch myself thinking about other things, I'll write them down. Like, I try to keep like either sticky notes or some sort of portfolio or something where, oh, okay, because sometimes you start thinking about tasks you want to do for the day or something. So it's like, well,
Yeah.
that's important. You should acknowledge that. But usually I will go ahead and read for about 40 minutes to an hour.
That's
Currently, I'm
good.
actually on a reading challenge. So for my
Oh,
personal
wow.
YouTube channel, Perez Dev, I challenge myself. I want to read like Warren Buffett for a week. And so what I've been doing is my
Oh,
challenge is to
wow.
read 5 to 6 hours every single day. I
That's a
missed
lot.
I missed yesterday because I was traveling, but
That's gonna be hard.
my goal is to make up for it
Yeah.
today. So, but I've done what, days 1, 2, and 3. I think today's my fifth
That's
day.
great.
So I've read over 20 hours just within this last couple days, and it's been
Do you use a reading tracker?
not really. I just write it down. Like, oh, I said
Just right
for
there.
for the YouTube channel, like for this, because this is like a challenge I'm kind of doing for myself. Um, because I'm just a regular dude who reads about 40 minutes an hour. Like, I'm not one to read hours on end.
Oh, yeah.
So I wanted to kind of make sure I keep track of it. So I write it down, but no, I don't use any sort of reading tracker per se. I just felt like when I did, my intention became more of tracking, oh, how many pages I get to say I read in an hour, instead of like just reading the material and learning from the material. So I just kind of stopped all in all and focused more on
That's a good point.
being consistent with
That's a great
trying
point.
to
You're right.
read.
Yeah, you can get stuck into the idea of like, okay, I got to get to this many pages, and
Yeah.
it just becomes it's basically the same thing that happens with you in a video game. You're playing until you get to
Exactly.
the edge. You're just like,
Hmm.
is it,
Instead of
it's
enjoying
not,
the actual
you're
game.
not enjoying it. You're just,
Yeah,
you're just trying to
exactly.
accomplish tasks, or it's like people with
Hmm.
steps. I got to get
Yeah,
10,000 steps. Well, what if you got 900? No,
yeah, it's like,
don't.
exactly.
um, what do you think of speed reading?
What I think of speed reading, I'm not the biggest fan personally.
Yeah.
Um, Again, no judgment on people who do, to be honest. Like if that works for you, then you know
Yeah.
what? Great. Like I know On is like a big believer of like, and he's like an anti-speed reader.
Yeah,
Like I know
he's
he
anti-speed.
yeah, he's
And
very
then
much anti-speed reader.
I interviewed somebody in India, Amrit Deshmukh. He
Mhm.
reads 1,000 words per minute. He said the way he was able to get there was by picturing the images. And he thinks that maybe if we looked at it more like pictures, which you kind of do
Exactly.
in fiction, kind of lends itself to it. Nonfiction, like if you're going to try and read the Intelligent Investor,
Yeah, it
a little
depends what you're reading.
harder to create pictures. But if you can, that's
Yeah,
a great way to
absolutely.
do it, because his explanation was for, back in the, the primitive days,
Hmm.
what did they do? They drew pictures,
Yeah,
and then we made symbols that represented the pictures.
which
But
are
it always
words. Yeah,
started with the pictures. And I was like,
exactly.
that's an interesting way to get it. Yeah, on is
Well,
very
right,
good
because
at that.
and think about why. Well, because the way we view the world is in some degree pictures, right? I see
Yeah,
you here. So that is my current perception of my reality right
yeah,
now, you know? And so I think that's why, like, when we start off with storytelling and we use pictures, because pictures and images and our five senses is how we perceive our reality of the world, you know?
yeah.
Um, so that's why I try to say I'm not as extreme as On. Like I know On is like anytime you
Do,
mention it, I love On.
do you
He's
think
great.
that might be the problem? Is, I mean, the term speed rating, it's kind of like video game. It doesn't really it doesn't really explain really what it is. It sounds so oversimplified that it's like it sounds like you're just like, and done, you know?
I think it would just help if we were like all just more open-minded. Because again,
Yeah.
if you're saying that I forget it, whatever his name is, can
Amrit
read 1,000
Deshmukh.
words. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Amran. You said Amran.
Amrit Deshmukh. It's a very
Yeah, never
hard
mind.
thing.
That's a tough word. Tough one.
He would laugh at. He's a very nice
I'm
guy.
sorry. I'm a tough one. That's a
Um,
tough one for me. But
it's a hard one for me.
the sir, the gentleman, um, if he can read 1,000 words a minute, and it works for him, and it really works for him, then you know what? Good for him. Like I'm happy for him.
Yeah,
For me personally, I don't speed read because I think that kind of
yeah,
misses the whole point of like sort of reading. You want to get intimate with the book. You want to be intimate with the book
yeah.
and enjoy your time with the book and utilize
Well,
the
like you
fact that like
said, it's
it requires time to synthesize.
the perspective. It's all about the perspective. How long do you want to spend with this book? Because
Hmm.
yes, I think you could do that. His example is always that Amrit's is that, say you're driving a car, you're going 45.
Yeah, and then you speed up. You're gonna pay
You
more
get it. You
attention.
speed up. You got to pay more
Yeah,
attention.
it's
So
like
he has,
yes. It's like yes and no. Because I mean,
yeah.
like
My problem with speed reading is I haven't found enough. I don't think there's I don't think the tools to teach it are effective enough. I've looked at Jim Quick's stuff and I like it. He's somebody I'd like to interview, and I'd like to ask him about this. Is like, how do we make this more? Because I feel like, you taught me a lot, but I felt like it dropped off after a while. How do you sustain the speed reading? Like, what,
yeah,
like, is there an app? Is there, I mean, there's been some apps where they flash the words on the screen. I don't think that works. It's never worked for me, the flashing the words on the side. I see what it's doing for retention, because if you look at, you just look at the pieces. I'm reading a great book right now. It's somewhere here. I'll get it for you.
if you want to grab it, feel free to grab it. I mean,
All right. Let me see if I can find it.
and so,
Can I
but you know what it is too. I think so many times we're so
get it
focused
right
on
here?
like on the quick thing, on the quick fix. You know,
Yeah,
like what's so
well,
terrible about putting in the work? Like even
exactly.
with like physical workout, like physical fitness. Like
Yeah.
why is it that we have to go searching for this pill or this hack or this cheat instead of just looking for
That's
the key ingredients of like, well, if I wake up early, so I have some more time in my day, because people claim, oh, they're too busy to work out. Fine. So wake up a little
oh yeah.
earlier. Now you have that extra time to do a workout, and then you do that for 30 days. And in between those days, you make sure you're watching what you eat by eating things that are as close as possible to nature as possible, as close as possible to nature, right? I
Yeah.
think if you just do those, 4 or 5 things, then that's how you lose weight, right? If that's your goal,
I,
or even gain weight,
yeah.
modifying like how you eat.
Consistency will always be
Consistent,
one of the
yeah,
tools.
consistent work
No
and
matter whether
discipline.
you, here's the book, Speed
Speed
with
reading.
Tony Buzan. For
Okay.
the longest time, I was saying that, I thought I must have misunderstood him. He said that
Yeah.
that he was working with this guy. Well, I found out he was dead, and he's been dead for like 20
Oh,
years. I'm like, okay, there's no way he's been working with him at this point in time. But
yeah.
it's very interesting. If you want a
Mm.
good book on speed reading, just to dive into it. And I think the problem is speed reading, and like you said, looking at it as a quick fix. Whereas I see it as a way to digest more in a faster time. Like there's a lot of books I want to get to. How do I get to all of them, at a certain time and not lose, because yeah, you don't want to just like go done,
But
it's
but
like
doesn't
you
that
didn't
also
get it.
kind of ruin, like, because I'm also thinking like from a technology perspective. I mean, in a couple decades, we'll be having some sort of chip or whatever where we're gonna just download information. But doesn't that also kind of ruin the fun of it? It's kind of like
Somewhat.
to some
I
degree.
think I think the good I think the possibility is the option, to have the option if
Fair
you
enough.
wanted to do it that way or if you wanted
Yeah.
to do it slow. Whereas most people don't have the option. But anyways,
Yeah. Fair
we've
enough.
talked enough about speed
Well,
reading.
no. One last mention. I mean,
Okay, one last thing.
and reason I'm not anti speed reading, I think, is like,
Yeah.
because who am I to say, speed reading is like stupid? Like if it works for you, if it really works for you, then great. But for me personally, I
Exactly.
found it doesn't really work. Like
And
I'm
at
not
the
taking
get
time
at
to
the
just
end of the
sit there
day,
and
it's
synthesize.
it's what works for you.
Yeah,
And that's why you got to do what works for you. And you can't just sit there. But I always like having the options of things. But you're right. It's what works.
I
So
think experimenting with it, like experimenting with things in life in general, whether it's speed reading or other things, again, goes back to that perspective and empathy. I think that helps with a lot of things in life.
what are the things I see all the time, and I still don't really understand it. What is this
Mm.
Goodreads? What is that? Do you use that?
I don't really use Goodreads.
I don't
I I,
either.
I used this blue app. I forget the name of it when I was tracking it. But
Okay.
Goodreads is just an app where you can go to share quotes and summaries on books and leave reviews on books.
So it's not a reading tracker.
Not to what I've seen. Maybe their app does,
Hmm.
but I know Goodreads is more so, at least to how I've used it, like on my computer. You can find cool quotes on there from books you like, or reviews on books and ratings of those books. That's all I found for Goodreads. Maybe there's more. I could be wrong.
So what do you think? What is your belief on like e-readers, the Kindle and regular books? How do you feel? Or are you just like wherever I can get the information?
Whatever serves you best. For
There
me,
you
I,
go.
I like physical books. I prefer physical books. But the day, if tomorrow comes and I have to get rid of my entire library, I'm still gonna at least keep my Kindle and maybe a couple physical books. But I'm gonna keep my Kindle and just get the digital versions of all these books because it's better than nothing. And if for you, for like you, the listener, if a Kindle works better for you in your current scenario, they're usually cheaper too, like the ebooks, then great, go for e-reader. And instead of being like, oh, e-readers are better than physical is better than
Yeah, there's
e-reader. It's
no,
like, no,
yeah,
there's no,
it's
oh, it's better. It's like what serves you best. That's
yeah.
it. It's just a
And
tool. Like you would never say a hammer is better than a screwdriver.
I
It's
know,
like,
good
well,
point.
right? Like
Yeah.
it's like, well, no, I need to hammer this nail in. Well, then I need a hammer, right? Oh, I need to screw
No,
this nail in.
I
You know
need the
what?
screw. I need the screw.
Yeah, whatever. It's like you would never use a screwdriver to hammer something in like that. That's silly. And it's like if
Yeah.
e-reader works better for you because you're either more of a traveler or you're more on a tighter
Yeah.
budget or whatever, then use an e-reader. If you prefer more physical books and you can find them at a cost-effective price and you have a place to store
Yeah,
them,
you
great.
go.
Then do
You
that.
talked about the importance of going to a thrift store, and I thought that was
Yes.
and to
Yeah.
find a lot of these books. That's great.
Yeah.
For me personally, I travel a lot, so I like having this
There you
because
go.
it's like I don't know if you're like me, but you pick the wrong book you bring with you, and then you're like, what do I
Oh, now I'm
know?
stuck with this one.
Now I'm stuck with
Yeah.
So here it's like, oh, I've got 50 other
Hmm.
books to choose
Exactly.
from. Um, one last question on the book reading. Do you have a book for you that you think has changed your life? I
Do I
know
have a
that's a
book? I mean, that's that's.
really easy question.
I mean, each each book and each. I mean, each day that we live is a new experience. So it's like
Yeah.
that's like asking, what's your favorite day you've lived on Earth, or like not your favorite day, but like which day that you've existed on this Earth so far has like changed your perspective. It's like, well, each day, right? Because you kind of learn and grow. But I'll go towards more my favorite, right? I know what you mean there.
Yeah. Yeah.
My favorite, I think
Doesn't have
it's
to be
still,
just your favorite at this
yeah,
time, maybe.
no, like that's like deeply impacted me. Um, I think Dr. Jeremy Peterson's Beyond Order.
Really
Uh,
interesting.
Either this one, actually a recent read that I've also really found has helped, Mastery by Robert Greene.
Robert Greene, good books.
And I think his book Mastery is still very underrated. Like he only
I
gets
haven't
talk
done.
about.
I haven't finished Mastery. I'm reading The Artist Seduction, the other one, and I've
Great.
read The 48 Laws of Power, which
Nice.
his books are daunting. Those are books where
Yeah.
you got to kind of like put them up to chapters each day. For me, that's how I can
Hey,
accomplish them.
exactly. Whatever works for you, right? But
Exactly.
yeah, I would definitely say Dr. Jeremy Peterson's Beyond Order, 12 Morals for Life. Um, just because I think they're topics that aren't commonly discussed, even with like nonfiction readers. Like I'll just read a couple just so people get some
Yeah.
context. Um, do not carelessly denigrate social institutions or creative achievement. Imagine who you could be and then aim single-mindedly at that. Do not do what you hate. Let's see. Be grateful in spite of your suffering. Do not allow yourself to become resentful, deceitful, or arrogant. Plan and work diligently to maintain the romance in your relationship. So those are like, and that's like half the rules, but I was gonna say like those like
Yeah,
more of my
that's great.
more of my favorite ones. And it's like the what is it? Rule number two, and I know it's rule number two. I was gonna talk about rule two just so. Rule number two: imagine who you could be, and then aim single-mindedly at that. Right? I think that's such a important thing to like think about. Like imagine who you could be. Hell, imagine what you want to be. Whatever, and then think about how you can get there. Because I think
Yeah.
so much time, like so many people nowadays spend so much time with
On the
like, oh,
how.
I can't do this, or telling other people they can't. Like
Yeah.
like I'll never forget
They
when I would try to.
they
No,
worry
go
about
for
the
it.
how. They worry about the how as opposed to the what.
Mm,
No?
yes, I no, I mean again, and right. I think yes, and we also sometimes I think people use the worry of the how as a cover for the fear of judgment, right? Instead of being like how to do record a video, right? If you're listening to this, you probably have a phone, right? Like let's be honest. If you're listening to this, you probably have some sort of tech, or else how are you listening to this, right? Everybody knows, like for the most part, I think everybody knows how to record a video. If you have a phone or even a computer or whatever device you're listening to this to, even if it's on the library, because there have been times in my life where I don't have as much technology as I would like. I get that. I'm empathetic to that. It's like even the library, you can borrow equipment where you borrow a camera, so you can still record. Everybody knows how to do it, but then
Yeah.
they spend so much time of like, oh, I need to have a good intro and this. Like just start, because then like when you aim single-mindedly at that one thing leads to another thing that leads to another thing that leads to the thing 5, 10, 20 years later. Like I never would have imagined I would interview people, but look, I did. And I have, and I will continue to. It's like that's amazing to me. That's beautiful. So you never know where things end up going, and that's also just how life works. Life is serendipitous like that. And so a lot of these other, like, that's just one example of what, 12, right? So I think a lot of those types of examples and values and ideas aren't spoken about enough. Like the serendipity of life, like life just sort of, it's not that it just sort of happen, like we're just in life, and then it's all about perspective, choosing to be positive, because you never know where that one thing is another thing that leads to the thing you were after this whole time, you know, or something even better, you know. So and I think that's definitely important. Like it helps you build a lot of these values that I think we don't talk about enough.
Absolutely. That was great. Great
Jordan
answer.
B.
All right.
Peterson.
Awesome. I love it.
Jordan B. Peterson, ladies and gentlemen.
So I know you are, I know you have this. What is your beginning of the day routine?
So it actually tends to change sometimes. Like recently, I just got done with school. So now I'm like trying to find a new sort of routine. But my more consistent routine, especially when I had school, right? I would try to wake up around 4:30 or 5, depending on how much homework or other tasks, projects that I have.
Yeah.
The night before that I kind of got caught up with the night before. Because like homework, you can't really, it's tough to measure how long it's gonna take you, right? It's like, oh well, I don't know. I just need to get it done. So I usually wake up around 4:30, 5, sometimes even 6. I try not to sleep in past 6 though. And then from there, I'll start my day by, well, turning off my alarm, rinsing my face, drink a glass of water, and then I'll go to the living room, stretch. I don't really time it per se. I just kind of, I'll feel my body. So usually I'll stretch my lower back, I'll stretch my legs and like my neck. And then if there's other things that are tight, stretch that. Then I'll usually go for some sort of workout, either a run, or if I'm feeling like, like sometimes, when you wake up, like you're like ready to just make stuff. Like, as like a creative person. So it's like, sometimes I'll just do my push-ups and squats and just, let's go to creative mode. On other days, it's more of, I'll go for a run and then do my reading. So I kind of let my morning routine ebb and flow a little bit, but my main structure is I wake up to rinse my face. I do that every single day. Like I don't feel like I've started my day if I haven't rinsed my face and had a glass of water. So that's one thing I do religiously. I wake up, rinse my face with some cold water and drink some water.
Do you do
Then
a
from
cold
there,
shower?
I've tried. I just don't like shower. Like even a hot shower, I don't like showers. I'm not, like, that's something weird about me. I mean, I shower, but I just don't like them.
Why?
I don't know. I like sometimes like, am I a cat? Like it's like I just don't like them. Like
Yeah, that's great.
I don't know why. Like it could be hot showers and I'm just like, like I just don't like getting wet. Like I don't know, something weird. Like even the pool, like I'm not one to just walk in. I have to jump in because or else I don't want to, like I don't know. I don't know, it's weird to me, but just part of me.
That's
So
cool.
I don't really do cold showers. I've tried it though, and I like it, but I usually end up waking the people that live in here as well. Cause I'll be like screaming like, oh, like, and I'll
Oh,
try to be
really?
quiet. Yeah, I just don't like showers. I just don't.
That's
So,
funny.
but I'll do my morning ritual of waking up to rinse my face, drink water, stretch, workout, and then either start on some creative work, or if I'm awake enough, then I'll read. I found if I read every single day in the morning, it doesn't work for me. Sometimes, like some mornings, I'm just a little drowsier than normal.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm not. Like, and I need as much focus as possible to read, and to build all these connections. So sometimes I'll save reading more towards like before the afternoon, so like 10, 11. I found, okay, I'm fully awake now. I'm not just like a little groggy. Even after I've worked out, sometimes I feel a little groggy and such. So yeah, so that's my main morning routine. Wake up to rinse my face, drink water, work, stretch, then work out, and then either creative work or reading.
Cool. Now you have a nighttime routine, I know, because I've done my research on you. What is the nighttime routine?
Yeah, the nighttime routine. Again, it's not as consistent as I like when it comes with schooling. So, but I aim for an hour before I go to bed. I try to shut off my computer, or at least my phone. Like my phone, I do religiously, but my computer sometimes is tougher because everything's remote and everything's also, I'm a technology person. So like my profession is tech.
Mhm.
So it's like, it's a little tougher for me personally. Um, but I'm okay with that because like sometimes some nights I'll be coding and I'll dream in code. So it's like, it's nice to like have that.
Really?
But my night routine would mainly be not turn off my phone, put my phone in airplane mode or put it in like another room an hour before bed with the alarm set. And then I will go ahead and usually I'll take 15, 20 minutes to stretch, um, catch up with family members, and then I'll journal. Not, I don't do it every day. It's kind of like a gut thing. Like, today I feel like I need
Yeah.
there's some stuff I want to get off my chest or just reflect on. But I don't do it every day because I know some people, oh, Ryan, how do you journal every day? I don't, because I feel like if I force myself to do it every day, now it's just forced, and
Yeah.
I have nothing really to talk about. It's like I'm still trying to build these connections. It's not
Yeah.
something I want to necessarily talk about yet. Still synthesizing and brewing. So, but I will also journal, and I'll try to plan out either my day or week. Like, what are my intentions or priorities for this day, for tomorrow, or for the week? So when I wake up, my mindset's like, oh yeah, I have it written down. So that's the gist of it. Turn off my phone an hour before bed, stretch, catch up with family members. Maybe I'll read a little bit, journal.
Hmm.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Cool. Do you meditate?
I find journaling for me personally like a form of meditation
Yeah, that
because
is.
like I'll ask the question, but like whatever I'm trying to sort of be intentional on.
Is there a robot in your house?
Oh yeah, no, there's a, what is it? Uh what is that? The blow, not blow dryer. What is it?
A what?
The maintenance people outside.
Oh, okay, okay. I was like,
Yeah.
what is it? A
What
robot or
is the
something?
word? That's gonna drive me crazy now. Oh, what is the word? Leaf blower. There we go.
Leave.
There's a leaf
Oh,
blower
okay,
outside.
okay.
Yeah, leaf blower
All right,
outside.
cool. So
Yeah.
it sounds
Um.
like it's talking. It sounds like
Is it?
going. So I was like, what
Sorry
is
about
that?
that.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. So yeah, so for you, journaling is a form of meditation. Do you like to do you do any formal meditation, or
Not
do you
really.
just it just doesn't work? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
because I like to be able to reflect on what I've thought about. So if I
Yeah.
write it down, I can see it. Like, oh yeah, this is where my mindset was, or this is an idea I wanted to come back to. Whereas with meditation, even though I can articulate things in my mind, I can't necessarily go
Yeah.
back to that, to some
Yeah.
degree. It's not written down. So for
Yeah.
me, and you're helping me make this connection now. Like, I think when I journal, that is my meditation because I'll literally sit there like, okay, and I ask myself, what am I grateful for today that I did today? And I'll think about it and I'll sort of think before I write. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, my journaling is my meditation because I'll sit there, genuinely sit and like think, well, what am I grateful for? What do I want to specifically write down and articulate? And I'll think about this, that. It's like, okay, now let's formulate it into a sentence. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I think this is a good sentence that discusses this. Is there any more details I want to add to that sentence that I'm going to write down? You know, and because I'm sure listeners have noticed, like I'll stumble on words even when we're communicating. Like I know what I want to say, it's in there,
Yeah, it's hard. It's
but
hard. But that's it's all about the
yeah,
decoding and finding it.
yeah, and like
That's why I do like
using words.
I use Elevate on this app.
Hmm.
Try to do that every day, and there's vocabulary on there, and it's like it pushes me to come up because it's timed. So you got to come
Mm,
up with words. That for me, that's hard, you know.
yeah,
But
nice.
I find doing this, forces you to, like right now, I can't think of the word.
Yeah, exactly. See,
It's hard because when you're on the spot,
yeah,
it's
exactly. And then you look it up
different.
later, and you're like, oh yeah, of course, that's what I
That
meant.
was the word. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like you'll be listening. I don't know about you, but I'll be like listening to podcasts. Like, why did he say that? Why didn't he say this? That.
Hmm.
It's like, well, it's a lot harder when you're like in there, do it. That's why
Yeah,
I write everything down and I make sure, I have
yeah.
because it's like you're gonna do it. All right. So the last question, and this it's a fun question.
Last
So like
question already.
Yeah, last question already. Can you
Wow.
believe it? Boy, that would
Yeah.
it's only 10 minutes right now. What films do you like?
Hmm.
Or movies?
I have quite a few
Oh, all right, good. Let's hear it.
because again,
I'm,
it
I
ebbs and
love it.
flows with like my daily moods in a sense,
Yeah.
So one of my consistent favorites though, and this is why I would always say it's my favorite because it's just
Yeah.
consistently something that on a day-to-day basis, I'd be willing to watch. Forrest Gump.
Hmm.
I really love the adventure of it all.
It's a
Um,
good movie.
Saving Private Ryan's another one of my favorites. It's
It's
a
a
good
good
one.
movie.
One of my favorite actors is Tom Hanks. So,
I could see that.
um, man, they're just going back and forth. Let's see.
We have leaf
I'll,
blowers.
yeah, I know we got leaf blowers going, trying to join in on the conversation. Let's see. Some of my other favorites. Uh, I mean, like comedy. I love
Yeah.
Step Brothers because it's just so silly.
Oh, that's great.
Like it's so stupid. It's just like what?
We're making
Napoleon.
bunk beds.
Yeah, Napoleon
You want to
Dynamite
make
is another classic. But then like more serious actiony type ones.
Yeah.
I love Quentin Tarantino, like Inglourious
Oh
Bastards
yeah,
or
that's a great
Django
movie.
Unchained. Um, I
I
also
love
really
Quentin Tarantino.
love. I'm trying to think of some other ones. I just love a lot of movies, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like you could
Did you
tell
ever
a name of a movie, and I'll be like, oh yeah, that one's so good too. It's just like with
did
books,
did you
you
ever
know.
see the film they did about Steve Jobs, just Steve Jobs with Michael
I did not watch.
Fassbender?
No, I did not
It's
watch
an
that one.
interesting film. It doesn't
Yeah.
it kind of falls like a play, but it's on
Mm,
Netflix. I'd check it out. Don't
okay.
watch the movie called just Jobs,
Hmm.
because it's mediocre.
Okay.
I mean, you can watch it, but it's not great. I mean, some
Gotcha.
people don't like this movie either, but I found it, and I'm interested to since you're a Steve Jobs guy, so I was like,
Mm,
I would love to hear what he has to say.
absolutely.
Do you like the
Um.
Marvel movies at all?
Yeah. See, I'm a big fan. I don't know how I missed that. I'm a
Like,
big
yeah, yeah,
Marvel
there you
fan.
go.
Yeah. So I
Would you
enjoy that.
did you
Um.
have you seen Doctor Strange
No. No. Not
2
yet.
yet?
I don't know if I
Okay.
will anytime in the next year. Like I'm always late to movies
Yeah.
because like I don't
Yeah.
spend that much time
Yeah.
like watching TV and such. So like a lot of movies I'll watch like 5 years later. which
Wow.
which
Okay,
can be a
cool.
bad thing sometimes because
Yeah.
people will be talking about it, like, oh well, I haven't seen it, but whatever. But I get to it eventually. If it's good, I get to it eventually.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So
Um,
so what would you say is your favorite at Tarantino?
that's a tough one. 'Cause I love Inglourious Basterds and I love Django Unchained. See, I haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, even though it's been
It's a
out for
good
two,
movie.
three
It's kind of
years.
a hangout. It's kind of a hangout movie. It's not like very plot driven, it's not like somebody
Mhm,
getting to here to there. They're just kind of like hanging out and the plot just kind of
gotcha. And I also haven't seen like
things
Reservoir
happen.
Dogs or
I love
Reservoir
Reservoir
Dogs.
Dogs.
I haven't seen that one
Okay.
either. So it's like,
That's a good movie.
um, but of the two, like, I'm just gonna keep it at of those two.
Yeah.
Let's see, Inglorious Bastards or Django Unchained. I don't. It's tough because like Django Unchained, it leaves me so.
That's one of my favorite performances of Leo DiCaprio. It's like, oh,
It's my
finally.
favorite performance.
He
For
finally
me, it's
plays
my
a
favorite
bad
performance,
guy.
and it's
I
so good. Like
love
because
it.
it's so despicable and like
Oh,
ugh.
ugh.
But then I also love Colonel.
He's got the long cigar and everything, the long
Yeah,
cigarette and everything, and he's got all
but then you
this.
also have Colonel Hans Lanza, and
Oh, I
then
love Colonel
he's
Hans.
such a
I love
great
that.
evil. Like he's a cool evil character. It's like whoa, like if I were to be evil, like I think you would be a cool character. Like because like
Well,
he
just
speaks so many
that's
different languages and like he knows how to like set people up in
just
this
that
way of
scene
like
with the strudel.
just
Well, they don't mention it, but you kind of know that he knows that she's who
yes.
she is. But he's probably already thought about what he's going to do with Hitler and that thing. So he's like, I'll keep her around,
It's such a
while
great
he's
character.
interrogating her
Yeah, and it's
with
like
the strudel.
well, like wait for the creme, and he's
You
just like
wait for
waiting
the
there
cream.
and just building suspense. He's like, oh my gosh, like what is going to happen? It's just
And
like
then he does the
all,
part where he says, there was one more thing I wanted to ask you. And
and
he
he
just
just
like
stares at
stares
her.
at her.
It's like what the hell, like
And the
what?
script, she's actually peeing her pants. They
Huh.
cut that out, but there's it's written that there's a puddle of piss
Wow.
under her that they
Wow.
cut. I mean, I guess because she got over how scared she was. So you didn't really, it would have been kind of
Yeah.
redundant in
Mhm.
the screenplay. That kind of works, but yeah, they were so great together, which is the cyclic and everything. And then he
Yeah, it
puts
was
it
really
down.
good. And yeah, well,
It's
that
so
must have
good.
not been important. Yeah, well.
And I love that. Yeah, and I
So
love it. And he just shows up like a shark in that scene. Like she's
yeah,
talking to him, and the way he cut it, it was almost like there was more dialogue that they were talking about, and then all of a sudden, it's just like, there he is. He
yeah,
just shows up, and it was like, oh
exactly.
wow,
Hmm. I think Inglorious Bastards though for me on a more
so good.
consistent basis, I can consistently I think watch that more or
Yeah,
be in the mood to watch that more than I would be consistently with Django Unchained. But when I want
I
to
feel like
watch Django Unchained, it's so good. Like it's so
I
they're
feel
both great
Django
though.
kind of loses some of its impact after Landa and Leo get killed. After that, it
Yeah,
kind of like I'm kind of
it's like
like
okay, like
it's kind of like then it becomes just a revenge story, and it was
yeah,
like, and if it's revenge, I still think Kill Bill is probably his best of the
there you
revenge
go.
stories. Did you see
Yeah,
Kill Bill?
I watched it a while ago, so I can't
Oh,
really
you gotta
talk
watch
about it because I watched it when I was little. So like
Yeah,
I watched that. It had to have been at least 10 years ago, maybe
that's
15
a
years
good
ago.
one. So
So
what's the last
I might have to watch it again.
what's the last MCU movie you saw of the Marvel movies?
What is it?
Curious.
Well, actually, no, I saw the one with the three Spider Mans. Spider Man
Oh,
Far From Home
Spider-Man No Way. Oh,
or No Way Home. Yeah, whatever. The most
with
recent
all with the
with the three Spider-Mans.
was that not the coolest thing
That
ever?
was
Like
incredible.
my
I
theater
think that's
was
the most
just like
recent.
that was so cool when he
Yeah, that
shows
was
up.
incredible.
Like we get
Yeah,
the first one because like they hinted at it, but they wouldn't say for sure. And then they did it. And then you saw
yeah,
the second circle, you're like, oh my God, it's gonna be Tobey
yeah.
Maguire.
No, that
And
was
it comes
pretty.
through.
That was pretty epic.
I mean, I don't think I'm spoiling this for him. I'm like, if you still haven't seen Spider-Man, I don't know what the
Well, I
I
guess
mean,
we
it's
should have
already
said spoilers
spoiled.
ahead.
It's spoil. Yeah, I'll have to put all right, I gotta write that down. Spoilers ahead.
Spoilers ahead.
Spoilers ahead. We've got. I'll have to put a TI signature in there for that. No, but yeah, you're right. I should do that. But
Well,
yeah, no,
I would
I
appreciate
love
that
that.
because, like I
I'm
said,
gonna
I
do
won't
that.
watch movies till 5 years later. So it's like,
Yeah.
so I would be grateful.
Well, we
I
talk
think
about things out of context here. I mean, but with the No Way Home, I'll put a spoiler there for that.
there you go.
All right. Well, this was great.
Absolutely.
I appreciate this. This is so much fun. Thank you for doing this. How can people reach you?
Yeah, they can reach me at Perez the Dev. That's Perez the Dev. Whether that's Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, you can find me anywhere. I think best way to reach me is either LinkedIn or Twitter. I think would be the best way to reach me. Check out Dev Nations. If you want to message me directly via Dev Nations, you can. But I'd be much better to be, sorry, words. I think it will be easier if you reach me at Perez the Dev. I'm more likely to respond to you directly. So yeah, Perez the
Cool.
Dev or perezthedev.com. Feel free
All
to reach out.
right. Well, thank you for doing this, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Justin. This was a lot of fun.
This was fun. Okay, this is the end of my podcast with Ryan Perez of devnations.com. Once again, if you want to find him, you can find him at www.devnations.com. The Mind Devs. He also has his own podcast, the Mind Devs Podcast. You can find him at Book Devs, at Dev Nations, at Perez the Dev. He's a creative entrepreneur. He's an interesting entrepreneur. He's an interesting character. Sorry, I messed that up. And I would just thank him for being on the show. And I hope to have him on again. And I hope you enjoyed. And as always, you can find me at Justin Yance or the DMF. I would assure you to come, contact me personally. I will, see it more often. So if you do it on Facebook or on Instagram, my personal stuff, I'll see it and I can answer your questions. So once again, thank you for listening, and I will see you next time on the DMF